Yeah, when you're ready, Omar, go. I just hope my one of these don't die.
Okay.
But when you're ready, go.
Alhamdulillah. والصلاة والسلام رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So continue discussing the book Muqtasar Sahih Bukhari by Al-Zubaydi rahimahullah, and still continuing concerning Kitab al-Wudu. So still continue discussing what have been mentioned by the author regarding matters that relates to some of the ahkam that relates to al-wudu. So in the last lesson that we're discussing concerning what he had mentioned regarding of some of those masail that relates to al-bawl, regarding concerning urine, and also the various and some of the ahkam that relates to this particular topic. And also he mentioned concerning ghusl al-dam, regarding concerning matters that relates to al-blood. So we had covered some of those matters, and we discussed concerning what had been said regarding blood in general, and also where he mentioned regarding other type of blood and how those to be cleansed. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue from where we had stopped and discuss some of the hadiths that have been mentioned here by the author, rahimahullah. Aywa.
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. قال مؤلف رحمه الله. Chapter 51, what is said about urine of camels, sheep and other animals, and about their folds. Hadith number 173, narrated by Abu
Anas.
Abu Anas. No, but there's a name in brackets. Abu Kilaba. It has here in brackets. Abu Kilaba Anas radiallahu anhu said, some people...
An Abi Kilaba an Anas.
Naam.
Aye. فأن أبي كلابة
And
عن أنس.
Abu Kilaba Anas radiallahu anhu said...
This is Abu Kilaba, then what comes after?
Brackets, it's in brackets. No.
Now what you have there in English?
I have in English narrated Abu Kilaba in brackets. And then I have Anas radiallahu anhu said.
So what does that mean?
Abu Kilaba and then Anas. So this is kunya.
Hey, some said that in the narration, the hadith concerning Isnad, it mentioned concerning the Isnad mentioned, قال حدثنا سليمان بن حرب قال حدثنا حماد بن زيد قال حدثنا أن أيوب أن أبي قلابة أن أنس. Meaning concerning that now what they have in bracket as Abi Kilaba, that's not related to Anas. He's one of the narrator and Anas. So what they have there like in bracket give the meaning that Abi Kilaba is like the kunya or attached to Anas by way of part of his name. That's not the case. They're two separate individuals. Clear?
Mafhum. Narrated by Abu Kilaba, Anas radiallahu anhu said, some people of Ukla, I think it's Ukla,
Uklin,
or Uraina tribe came to Al-Madinah, and its climates did not suit them. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to go to the herd of Milch. I need to look at the Arabic sometimes, it's very... ordered them to go to the herd of camels and to drink their milk and urine as a medicine. So they went as directed, and after they became healthy, they killed the shepherd of the Prophet ﷺ and drove away all the camels. The news reached the Prophet ﷺ early in the morning, and he sent men in their pursuit, and they were captured and brought at noon. He then ordered to cut their hands and feet, and it was done. And their eyes were branded with heated pieces of iron. They were put in al-hurara, and when they asked for water, no water was given to them. Abu Qilaba added, these people committed murder, theft, became disbelievers after embracing Islam, and fought against Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Hadith number 174, narrated by Anas radiallahu anhu. Prior to the construction of the mosque, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam offered the salah at sheepfolds. chapter 52, what is said about an-najasat.
Okay. So that okay. So regarding concerning what is mentioned, regarding concern that he mentioned, abwab, al-ibl, wal-dawab, wal-ghanam, wal-marabidah. Then he mentioned regarding concerning of those things to be discussed, regarding concerning this masala. And as we mentioned before, regarding concern before going into that discussion, that we mentioned that for each madhab, regarding concern the Ahnaf, Al-Malikiyya, Shafi'iyya, and Hanabila, for each of them that they have their own books regarding explanation of Sahih Bukhari. So each madhab that will have there concerning that the works that they have and books that have been authored from each of the ulama of that particular madhab, you find that each madhab have their shar that are considered to be mu'tamad, that are considered to be reliable with them. So of those explanations mentioned, that of the famous ones, that of Fath al-Bari, that's by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, that's Shafi. So you can somewhat in that explanation mention many of the aqwal of the Shafi'iyya and other madhahib, but also kind of somewhat bring a lot of the evidence for the Shafi'iyya. So if you want, so that's concerning Ibn Hajar, where he somewhat will mention more regarding the madhab of the Shafi'iyya in his explanation because he's from that madhab. The Ahnaf also have their explanations. So you have explanation of the Ahnaf. The more famous that is there is this one. It is called Umdatul Qari. So this one is Umdatul Qari. And the thing that we had mentioned before, that Umdatul Qari by Al-Aini. So Aini and Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, they were contemporaries. So both of them lived at the same time and was writing an explanation at the same time. And discussion regarding concerning this one benefited from this one or this one took from this one, but there was kind of somewhat discussion or dispute between both, and that also related to Sahih Bukhari regarding did both of them benefit from each other. In Ahnaf, they rely more on Umdatul Qari. They rely more upon Umdatul Al-Qari, that author that you will mention like in more in depth regarding concerning the position of the Ahnaf. But you will mention also other madhahib, but more regarding concerning more leniency towards the Ahnaf and mentioning their aqwal and their adillah. So what he had mentioned here, so of the things with this layout of Umdatul Qari, that you'll find that some of the mashaykh that they'll mention that Fath al-Bari of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, that regarding concerning points hadithiyah, regarding concerning discussing the hadith by way of going into some detail regarding the isnad, matter that relates to the narrators, that Fath al-Bari, that is a good reference for this. As for the layout concerning but as for the layout regarding concerning that Umdatul Qari, that his system, you'll mention the hadith, and then you'll have concerning Hal al-Rawi or Ruwat or Rijal. Then mention some matter that relates, so he'll mention the hadith, or mention concerning that the link between the hadith that are being mentioned and also the chapter heading. So his system is somewhat said very academic, if one uses that, but his system is very somewhat academic, where he put everything in a certain order. Talk about the link between the hadith and the chapter heading. Then he mention something about the narrators. Then he can somewhat mention regarding concerning i'rab. Also mention concerning al-istinbat, al-hukum. Then he discuss concerning the rulings that can be derived from the hadith. So you can somewhat go in that type of system. So make it so that's concerning, said, but still a very useful and beneficial explanation. Also going to concern the i'rab, but his system is very beneficial regarding is the method in how he lay out the book and also what he discusses. So regarding fiqh matters also, as mentioned, that the Ahnaf, he go into some detail regarding mention their aqwal and their evidence. So regarding concerning this particular chapter, regarding concerning that that he mentioned regarding concerning هذا باب, regarding concerning the chapter heading, that and the link to the chapter heading, then what it is to cover. What is the chapter heading? What are the matter that he wished to cover? He mentioned هذا باب في بيان حكم أبوال الإبل إلى آخره. So he mentioned concerning, as for this particular discussion that we're having, is regarding to discuss regarding what's the hukum regarding abwal al-ibl, regarding concerning the urine of camels. Is it something which is najas or not? So that's concerning the matter that is to be discussed. So that's the discussion that is to be had regarding concerning the hukum, the ruling pertaining to the urine of these animals. Are they considered to be pure or impure? Then he mentioned the hadith is mentioned regarding that matter. So they mentioned that's concerning what is, so the hukum is regarding concerning that is regarding concerning which is more so regarding their milk. It is clear. Regarding, but the issue now is regarding what's the position, what's the hukum regarding the use. Is it permissible? Is it considered that the urine of ibl, which is camel, and these type of animals such as al-ghanam, are these things pure or impure? Are they impure or pure? So that's concerning discussion to be had. Then he mentioned regarding concerning so as for what is mentioned regarding concerning this hadith that is mentioned, that is hadith Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he mentioned it several places in Sahih. This hadith is somewhat scattered in the book of Sahih Bukhari because of all the masahil that can be taken from this particular hadith. Then as mentioned regarding concerning those tribes that are mentioned, regarding concerns that I mentioned, قدما, they mentioned nas, and I mentioned unas min uklin or orania. So regarding concerning Orayna, so regarding concerning Orayna, so these are two tribes. So these are two tribes who came to the Prophet ﷺ and came to Medina. And some of them were ill, amongst them those who were ill, and then He ﷺ directed them regarding as a way to kind of somewhat to cure of their illness is for them mentioned and yashru min abwaliha yani al-ibu wa albaniha. So also for them to drink from the urine and also from the milk of the camel. So it's so, and then they went off and they actually killed the shepherd who owned these animals, and then they kind of went off with his animal. Then the Prophet ﷺ kind of somewhat sent a party to go after them. So as for what he mentioned, Ibn Malakin, so what is mentioned here by Ibn Malakin rahimahullah regarding concerning that what can be derived. So what can be derived from this particular so what can be derived from this particular discussion that it mentioned regarding concerning that the group that were in this, they mentioned concerning the amount of people involved regarding from those two tribes that they mentioned, Thamaniya, that there were Thamaniya or Qil, Sab'a, that there were 7 or 8 from one of those tribes, and also that they mentioned that Thalatha from the others. So it's a group. So from the group of those two, that regarding that they were 3. So a discussion regarding how many people, but a small number, a group of them came to Medina. And so what is mentioned by Ibn Malakin, he mentioned regarding the ahkam and what can be taken, that it shows regarding khudum al-qaba'il wal-ghuraba al-imam, regarding concern that that tribes sending like dignitaries or individuals from among the representatives to come and visitors to come and see the imam, to come and to see the imam, mean concern the leader of the Muslim. So in this capacity, that to come and to see the leader of the Muslim. In some of the narration of Sahih Bukhari, it mentioned that this individual accepted Islam. So I mentioned that. So in this narration, there is no mention of them accepting Islam. But in other narration, that they did accept Islam and gave also bay'ah to the Prophet ﷺ, that they gave the allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ. So it mentions, so in some narration mentions that they accepted Islam. So they were Muslim. So they came to visit the Prophet ﷺ, but amongst them there were those who were ill. Also, second, that he mentioned that the Imam, regarding concern that that looking in the affairs of the people and try to direct them to that which is best. So regarding concern, the Imam trying to look after the well-being of those under his care. So what are those things that may affect them regarding, what are those things are physical things that needs to be in place to protect them, or spiritual things regarding concerning their deen. So in this case, that is individuals that they were affected concerning that their health, as some of them were somewhat ill. So for the Imam kind of somewhat to also to ensure regarding those who are under his care, that also that they are giving they're treated well, including matters pertaining to their physical health and well-being. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw they became aware of their condition, that he directed them regarding how to find some form of cure. Then it mentioned regarding concerning that from the hadith, it indicates concerning that the urine of animals that are eaten, that their urine, it is tahir. Nam, so taharat, baul, ma ya'kul lahm. So regarding animals that can be eating, which would include concerning camels, goats, sheep, and cows, that their urine are considered to be pure, and that's concerned, and that's the matter of Imam Malik, and that it is something which is pure and not impure. But as for concerning the Al-Malikiyah, that so you have others who take a different view. You have others concerning that what is the view of the Shafi'iyah, al-Jumhur of the Shafi'iyah, قائلون بنجاسة البول والرث. That regard, they're all concerning that these animals, that their urine and also their dung is considered to be impure. Their urine and dung is considered to be impure. And that they mentioned concerning that in this particular case, concerning those who say it is impure, that they explain this hadith by saying that their urine was used as a form of medicine. So can someone exception? Then there's an exception, but regarding concerning, so it is in that case allowed. But as for concerning using, even though it is considered to be najas, so even though they're considered to be najas, but they mention concerning that ordinarily concerning that najasat, it is at times can be used as a form of medication, with the exception of khamar wal musakkirat, and things that are that intoxicate. So which comes from which one? Al khamar. So these type of thing of khamar, that what's the view regarding concerning is the urine of ibil, of camel, pure or not? And we mentioned in brief regarding the aqwal of the ulama pertaining to that particular matter. So Islam instructed them that they should drink of this, and that will be a form of cure for them. This for them to drink from this, and this will be a form of cure for them. So you have some other aqwal regarding concerning urine. So that's concerning that matter, and they all that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, that it seems as if he more inclined toward the view concerning that it is tahir, that he more seem to be inclined toward the view concerning these type of animals, that their meat are eaten, that their urine is tahir, and of the reason why he mentioned this particular hadith. There's a hadith that is mentioned on Jabir or Bara radiyallahu anhuma marfu'an, that goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. We mentioned a hadith meaning concerning ma akala lahmu fala bas bi bawli. Ma akala lahmu, that what is eating regarding his lahm, his meat, fala bas bi bawli, that his urine is okay. His urine is okay. But that hadith is daif. That hadith is daif. As Imam Daraqutni rahimahullah and others, Ibn Adi and others, clarify that hadith, it is la yuthbit. That hadith is not authentic. As for other things that they mention regarding concerning that, in this particular case, that those individuals that accepted Islam, and then they did what they did. They did what they did by taking the life or killing that person, the shepherd. Then it mentioned regarding concerning this also to prove regarding concerning of those individuals regarding of the punishment that can be given to those people who are called muharib. So al-muhariba, of those concerning bab ahkam muhariba, those people are said to be like enemies of Islam. Then the punishment for them are said to be very strict. The punishment for them is considered is very strict in a sense of that as mentioned. So as mentioned regarding that, some very strict punishment was placed on those individuals regarding what they have done. So you have ulama concerned that this type of punishment can be handed to people who are said to be ahkam muhariba fi sahra. If those people have committed such an act, that they can be punished in this manner if it is occur in the desert. But if it occur concerning in the, they mention concerning al-amsar, in the cities, then Abu Hanifa that this ruling is not to be applied. Or the khilaf between the ulama, the ahnaf, all that, this type of ruling or punishment is not to be applied regarding those people who live in the cities. And that's the view, I've said, that of the Ahnaf. But the Maliki and the Shafi'i, it can be applied. This type of ruling, punishment can be applied to those who even live in the cities. But Ahnaf, that's not a view. This type of punishment is said to be concerned to the muthla, which is a form of very not amputating, but kind of somewhat very, what's the word I'm trying to find, that because their hands were cut off, different from their eyes. So this type of punishment, they will say today is a form of, what would you call this type of punishment today? Not torture. They might say torture. Capital punishment is a death punishment. Capital concerning death punishment. So if the person is in any type of death punishment, but yes, the word of said the people see it as a form of torture of that person. Type of thing. So some might call it, but in Islam concerning that, no, torture of people is not something which is allowed. So torture of people is not per se allowed. I've already mentioned that, no, it can be applied in certain circumstances. So in certain cases, that it can be applied of the ulama who all concern this type of punishment that was given to these people. That is something which is mansukh. It is something which is abrogated. So it was done, they mentioned, before the hudud, the Islamic concerning punishments were revealed. This occurred in the early days, but then when all the punishment were revealed, then this one is not per se applied and it became abrogated. That's a view taken by some. That is view taken by some. But generally concerned, so of the ulama, that, you know, this punishment can be, it's still applicable, but it's for the Imam, the leader of the state, to apply this as he see fits. If he sees the circumstance, and if he wishes, he does not have to carry it out. But if he wishes, as a form of, then it can be applied. So it goes back to the Imam and Qudat to make that judgment regarding applying such punishment. But overall, of the ulama, all that, it's still a punishment can be carried out, but for the discretion of the Hakim in using and applying this particular type of punishment. And those who mention that's concerning that matter. Also issued the Prophet Islam regarding concerning that, and he mentioned the Prophet Islam, Ibn Malaki mentioned that the Prophet Islam or the Imam, he does this as a form of, that some might see it as not a rahmah, but actually it is, as a form of deterrent for people doing these type of things. As a form of deterrent regarding these type of, we say, capital punishment in Islam, it serves as a deterrent regarding people carrying out heinous crimes against others. So you have strict punishment for people, especially those who take the life of others. Where in this case, this individual took the life of the person who was there to help them, and also took his animals. The punishment became very severe on this point where they took a life and also they stole. Also of the thing that can be taken from this also from the hadith that that's concerning of those things. So it shows regarding, but overall that also said that based upon this hadith that urine of these animals are not considered to be najas, but overall regarding the use as a form of cure, thing which is impure, and that is not permissible. So things that are said to be najas, then they are not to be used or to be taken and to be used. And also the Prophet ﷺ, that he can somewhat gather some people to go after them. So he gathered around just over 20 individuals to go after them from amongst the Muslim, to go and to find and to seek out these individuals and to bring them back for them to be punished. So the Imam mentioned, and it mentioned the Prophet ﷺ that these people that they immediately carry out the instruction that was given to them by the Prophet ﷺ. So these immediately carried out the instruction that what they were told to go and to seek after these people. They immediately went and find them, and they brought them back, and they were punished accordingly. So as I mentioned, هؤلاء سرقوا وقتلوا وكفروا, and also it mentioned that they found that these individuals, as mentioned by قال Abu Qilaba هؤلاء. So Abu Qilaba rahimahullah clarifying regarding why their punishment was so severe. One, he mentioned هؤلاء سرقوا, that they stole, وقتلوا, and also that they killed, وكفروا, and also that they disbelieve, بعد إيمانهم, وحاربوا الله ورسوله. So they fell into all these things. So this type of punishment is for people who fall into those type of things, that they stole, that they took life, also that they went back into kufr after iman, and also that they went against the Prophet, went against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Prophet alayhi salam. So based upon this, that the punishment become very severe in cases like this, showing also regarding Ahlul Ridda can be killed. So Ahlul Ridda, that can be killed. So the person who was killed for all of these things, or this individual was killed for all these things. Also it shows regarding concerning that Jawaz Qatl Jama'ah, that a group of individuals were involved, that this is a group of individuals killed this individual, killed the shepherd, and all of them was punished. So that's a collective punishment for those that were involved. So even though it was one person who was killed by a group, then all of them were punished for the act done by either all or some, as all of them were collectively involved in carrying out that act. All of them was somewhat collectively involved in carrying out the death and the murder of another person. So those are some of them. And also it shows also the permissibility, tadawi. Also it shows the permissibility of person taking medication and seeking cure for their illness. So it shows concerning, so that's kind of those things that the Prophet Islam instructed them to drink of that, of those things, showing the permissibility for one to take of medicine and medication. So that is something. So that is something which is allowed. Something which is allowed. So they mentioned that camel milk and also camel urine also is a form of cure for many illness. Nam is a cure for many illnesses. So that's concerning of those ahkam, or what can be taken from this particular hadith. What can be taken from this particular hadith. So they mentioned the Prophet that he sent 20 horsemen to go after them, being led by Qurs ibn Jabir al-Fihri. Qurs ibn Jabir al-Fihri, and also with him was 20 other persons that went along with him to seek after these individuals. So it showed that concern that a group going after those who have committed criminal act, that is something which is permissible by way of instruction from those in authority. So they captured them and they brought them back. So of the things that they captured them and they brought them back, show concern that that what they call vigilance type of law is not something which is permissible. So those individuals did not retaliate back to those individuals for what they did, or took revenge for what they did. Rather, they brought them back, those individuals, back to the Prophet ﷺ, and he handed out the punishment for what they have did. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, of those ahkam that relates to this particular, and some of the fawahid that relates to this particular hadith. And it showed the Prophet is concerned that wanted good for others by way of they were ill, and he instructed them regarding of ways for them to find a cure for their illness. So he directed them to what he told them to do, but instead they did opposite. So that inshallah ta'ala of what can be mentioned regarding, some mention regarding that is also a sign concerning the Dalail al-Nabuwah of the Prophet regarding informing that, knowing that the urine and the likes and the milk of the camel that can serve as a cure, So in the Prophet had no per se previous medical training, but knew that this drinking from the urine, that it was a form of cure. Something that these matters, whether those people and those are the things that the hadith has confirmed. And these things said, no, it is based upon, we accept, it's based upon, it is a thabit upon the Prophet of Islam, then we accept these things. Whether a person tried to rationalize it or not, but the fact that it is authenticated upon the Prophet of Islam, then we accept regarding in these type of things that one can find a form of cure, and this is still used today. So this is still used today as a form of cure in certain places and regions. So that's concerning that particular hadith. Hadith
الثاني.
حديث الثاني concerning عنه, concerning again, and concerning Anas ibn Malik قال, concerning the second hadith that is mentioned regarding concerning the heading where you mentioned concerning that praying in the pasture of the ghanam. So regarding concerning marabid al-ghanam, that it is allowed for one to make a salat in that mention that's considered can be saying yusalli, that the Prophet can someone to pray قبل أن يبنى المسجد, before the masjid established في marabid al-ghanam, that he used to pray in marabid al-ghanam, that he used to pray in this particular in the pasture of the animal. So it shows that with ghanam would be concerned the sheep, that regarding that in their pasture they'll urinate and they'll pass dung, that it is considered to be pure based upon the fact that because the Prophet that he used to pray in that area. So show that it's something which was pure based upon that he prayed, and of the condition concerning salat, that a person ensure that the area that is prayed in, that is something which is pure without najasa. So those things are not considered to be najas regarding the dung and also the urine of sheep, because he prayed in their pasture. So it shows regarding concerning that's concerning that matter. So that's concerning that matter that he mentioned. Aywa.
قال مؤلف رحمه الله, chapter 52, what is said about najasat, impure and filthy things, which fall in cooking butter, ghee, which is obtained by evaporating moisture from butter and water. Hadith number 175, narrated by Maymuna radiallahu anha, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam was asked regarding ghee, cooking butter, in which a mouse had fallen. He said, take out the mouse and throw away the ghee around it and use the rest. Hadith number 176, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a wound which a Muslim receives in Allah's cause will appear on the day of resurrection as it was at the time of infliction. Blood will be flowing from the wound, and its color will be that of the blood, but will smell like musk, perfume. Chapter.
That's the hadith.
No.
Then he mentioned regarding concerning the next chapter that follows, that he mentioned regarding concerning ma waqa min al-najasat min al-sam wal ma. So again discussing concerning babu tahara. So regarding discussing concerning of those things that najasa, things that are said to be najas, that if they were to fall into water, or they were to fall into butter or ghee or thing of that nature, or things of like those, what is the hukum? Does those things become najas, or what to be done? So he mentioned regarding concerning the discussion here, as mentioned by Al-Aini, that هذا باب في بيان حكم وقوع النجاسة في سم والماء. That this particular chapter heading is to discuss concerning the matter regarding what's the hukum, what's the ruling regarding things that are impure if they were to fall into things which is like water and things like butter and the likes. So things that are said to be liquid. If they were to fall, so najasa, falling into something which is liquid, such as water, such as ghee, what are to be? What is the situation regarding those things? Or are those things then become najas or not? Based upon this, it mentioned concern that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he kind of somewhat mention the hadith of Maymuna regarding concern that Fahra that fell into this ghee, and he says, Alqaha wa ma hawlaha wa qulu samukum, that he alayhi salam, that he mentioned regarding know that if it something of fall into it, then it is to be taken out, and also that thing and what is around it to be removed, and you can use the rest. So I mentioned afara sakata fi sam, concerning if fell into that thing concerning ghee or butter. So butter is sometimes more not like water. So thing which is completely liquidy, nam, then it goes back to what we had discussed regarding things with like water and the like, which comes up much more of that type of liquid that we discussed concerning if anything of najas fall into it, if it does not change the color, the taste or the smell, that it remains as pure. So that's how we mentioned before. So as for thing which is more maybe a little more solid, such as butter and the likes, then those things concern it's not removing those najas, that is more applicable. So for example, water, liquidity, very liquidy, they become difficult to just take it out. But regarding concerning things seems that seems more solid, then that this can be done where what is inside is removed and what is around it. So that that thing that is impure, not that everything is impure, but only the area that it fell into. Only the area that it fell into, that's the area that is impure. For the thing to be removed, the impurity to be removed, and also that which and what's around it, and that which is around it. Then by him mentioning concerning kulu, that you should eat from it, show that what remains is tahir. What remains, it is tahir. So thing was said as jamid, not everything goes, that is everything becomes, is said to be najas. Thing which is jamid, which is solid, then not everything by something impure found it, as mentioned, to be removed, and the rest is considered to be pure and can be used. Of those who explained, they mentioned a discussion regarding concern that, as mentioned that, it seems as if of those ulama of the view concerning that if something which is pure or impure falls even water into water, if it does not changes the color, the taste or the smell, then it returns upon tahara. It returns upon being pure. And he mentioned he concerned the qawl of Zuhri, which is not a part are mentioned here. So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, when he mentioned the chapter heading, then he mentioned qala Zuhri. So he mentioned concerning Az-Zuhri, who is Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Shihab, one of the A'immat al-Kibar. Az-Zuhri فقال لا بأس بالماء ما لم يغير طعم أو ريح أو لون. So Imam Az-Zuhri rahimahullah of the view regarding that لا بأس بالماء, that the water considered to be, it is still okay if something impure fall into it, if it does not change the taste, the smell, nor the color. That's concerning. So that's concerning what's that with that. So the factor that will have a great impact regarding things of water is if something impure changes one of those three qualities or properties: the smell, the taste, or the color. If those things are not changed, then it remains pure. So it doesn't require all three to change, only one of those. So if one occur, then it becomes impure. Even some of the ulama make a distinction between the quantity of the water. Some make a distinction, the quantity of the water, if it is small or large, depending on how they make a distinction between what is said to be large quantity or small quantity. When I mentioned if it's small quantity, the fact that impurity I've got into it, then it becomes impure. But if it is large quantity and does not impact on those things, doesn't change anything, then it becomes pure. So you have that discussion between both regarding the quantity, whether large or small, and how they distinguish between large and small. Then he mentioned regarding concerns, that's concerning the first hadith. He mentioned two hadith, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then he mentioned a second hadith concerning that. Was the second hadith?
About Abu Hurairah, related about Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He mentions about fighting a Muslim who receives أيوة.
concern the Muslim concerned that the Muslim concerned that
In battle.
in battle regarding concerning في سبيل الله يكون يوم القيامة قيادة regarding concern that
His blood.
As I mentioned regarding concern that with this concern that dam of the deceased, the dam of the deceased of the Muslim who have been killed, or concerning that of blood. As we have discussed regarding concern that is regarding concern a person fi sabilillah the mujahid, that regarding that if his blood is to be spilled, then that person that is considered to be something which is honorable for the Muslim regarding jihad fi sabilillah. So it shows concern the virtue of jihad fi sabilillah. And also regarding concerning that the reward for the person whose blood is spilled in fighting the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That his blood and his sweat, that is considered to be that of misk. So it's something which is beautiful, it's something with a good smell with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as for it being something which is tahir or not, then we have discussed that matter between the ulama all concerned that the blood, if it comes out of the body, is considered to be impure. The blood, if it were removed from the body, considered to be impure, najas, and we have somewhat into that matter before. And some that's concerned that matter. And those who hold it is not pure, because they mention in this case the person, that regard the person fighting and injured, but of those also, and his blood is still on his clothing. They mention that if it was that, but there's no mention regarding salat, just mention the person's injured and his blood on his clothing. So that's concern that it shows regarding concern, but also it shows regarding that also in the case of the shaheed, as mentioned here, taharat ad-dam shaheed, that the blood of the shaheed, that is considered to be tahir. The blood of the shaheed is considered to be tahir. So these are all of those things that relates to the great reward that is given for the person who is a shaheed. Now, and some of those things regarding concern is blood is looked, is spilled blood is looked upon differently from ordinary spilling of blood. So the Muslim, so the shaheed, the death of a shaheed and the death of an ordinary Muslim is not the same. And the ahkam also not the same. So for the shaheed is blood, and also they mention regarding concerning ahkam of salat al-janaza is different for the person's shaheed. It's different from that of the shaheed. So that's concerning that the matter regarding the shaheed. Aywa, what comes next?
قال المؤلف رحمه الله, chapter 53, narrating in stagnant water. Hadith number 177, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, you should not pass urine in stagnant water which is not flowing, then washing it.
This hadith mentioned here is regarding concerning clarifying regarding that is nahi, that concern the hukum regarding concerning urinating in stagnant water. So regarding that the hukum, that the hukum was the hukum regarding urinating in stagnant water. Is it something which is permissible or not? So basically what the hadith mentioned that la yabulanna, that you are not to do so. So the hadith is somewhat is very clear that regarding the impermissibility, I mentioned la yabulanna, that one is not to urinate ahadukum, any amongst you. So regarding concerning those who are present in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and also those who come after, that none of you are allowed, it is not permissible that you urinate in stagnant, mention fima dahim, in stagnant water, I mentioned alladhi la yajri. So can someone to clarify that this act is not to be done regarding urinating in stagnant water? So from the hadith, it shows that the impermissibility, or it is forbidden that one urinate in stagnant water of the ulama, and they mention regarding concerns, and even though this nahi regarding stagnant water, it could be a large body of water, that this ruling also still apply. Now regarding concern a pool of water, which is like a swimming pool, then said that even though it may not be najas, because sometimes with swimming pool, sometimes it is still, even though it is said to be stagnant, it's still somewhat you have a flowing system. Now the water is still flowing in and out. with swimming pool, but overall concerned that the water is stagnant, that the person avoid urinate in such water. It may not, they said, it may not be that you doing so, it may make the water najas. So the water is a large quantity of water that's urine in it may not make the water najas, but if many people do it, then it may be a problem. Depending on the quality, the amount of water, but many people doing it, then it may create problem also. Urinating stagnant water also can be a cause regarding disease and the likes. The diseases and spread of illnesses. So one is told not to do so, as it regarding. So that concerns the matter regarding health and hygiene matters in general, and also the Muslim regarding his character, that to avoid those things that may be a problem for himself and for others. And also ثم يغتسل فيه, and also the person not to wash in it, so not also take a bath also in such water, so not to urinate and then take a bath in that, to take a bath in the water which is that you have urinated in. As for the matter, a matter discussed by Ibn Taymiyyah, or what I can recall, that like we have bath tubs, that the water is not that the water is running. So the water that release the water. So a person taking a bath and urinate in that, then it's jaiz. So even though you're taking a wash, and you might urinate in the tub, because the water is running off also with the water that, it will all run off. It doesn't say stays there. It doesn't stay. It runs off, runs away and out per se. Then that area doesn't become najas, because it is washed away with water. And also it will just run off. So I mentioned that it is permissible to be done, that the person can do so, because that water is somewhat, it is washed away or run off. So that's concerning that. So that wouldn't apply to this, because I mentioned the hadith I mentioned, stagnant water, where that is, the water is not stagnant, it is running off. It is mentioned, and it is mentioned, so what is mentioned, that even some of the ulama were said to be zahiri. Some of those ulama were said to be zahiri, where they take things for its apparent meaning and don't go beyond this. So of those of the zahiri madhab, or way of view, is that I mentioned that when I mentioned this hadith, I mentioned la yabulanna ahadukum fima da'im, that you are not allowed to urinate in stagnant water. So they mentioned that for you to go and to urinate in stagnant water, that's not to be done. And they said, yes, we accept that. But I mentioned, for example, if you were to urinate, for example, in something, a container, and then pour that water, and then said that is jaiz. Yeah, according to them, because the hadith mentioned that you are not to do so. So in this case, you're not. So it mentioned that you are not to directly stand and urinate directly in the water, stand in the water. But if you were to, for example, urinate in something, a container,
you can dispose of it
and dispose it and pour it in that. They said that's jaiz. Yeah, but since that's a bit far-fetched. So that type of view is a bit.
I can see how they come to that.
Yeah, come to the seating for dhahir. You understand? They see it as a thing. So, but to say that's a bit far-fetched type of view. That view is a bit out of the circle, out of the box, as they say. So sometimes they have certain odd views. It doesn't justify that everyone start to throw every view in that comes to mind. But it doesn't mean that sometimes the ulama mention certain views, the ulama, that are said to be odd views. But it doesn't justify others trying to come with their odd views. And just as the ulama reject those odd views, then the same thing, that a person can somewhat not to come with anything which is odd. And also regarding concerning odd views, that also for the shabab and the persons that might read certain views that are odd. Or they said shadh, an alim who is reputable and his views are generally considered, but might mention a view in particular matters, might come with a view which is very odd, very strange view. Now, not to take these strange views and kind of somewhat try to spread them amongst the people and to defend them. So odd views are not just to be spread amongst the general mass like that. And strange views. They're not just to be mentioned widely to the people, and sometimes it can create a fitna where they don't know how to put those things in context. So certain views may be there, but the person, there's no need to spread them. For example, of certain views that may be considered to be, in our time, considered to be strange. That we can't consider the Prophet at times would pray in his shoe, or pray in his shoe, based upon how that masjid was built then. So in our contemporary time, is the sunnah, and can someone encourage praying in our shoe? So the person now in our time regarding masajid, that they are ordinarily, in most cases, the masajid are built with carpets or some type of flooring, which is, most of the time we have carpet flooring, or not carpet, but may have marble flooring. So the person regarding the carpet in particular, for the person not to just you pray in his shoes on the carpet, come in the masjid and say it's a sunnah to pray regarding in our shoe, in salat, and pray in the masjid, in the center of the masjid, when he's with his shoes on, then that is unacceptable. And a person does that if he was to be smacked, and so that to be kind of somewhat pulled up, then there's no aib. Because the person says that he's putting things in context. So it means that the Prophet may encourage certain things, but also they take into context regarding concerning that, yes, applicable, you're praying outdoors in a situation where there's no carpet of value, have to be cleaned, it have to be maintained, have to be purchased, then for the person or someone to apply the hadith in this circumstance, then that is unacceptable. That is at our time considered to be a view which is unacceptable. So that's concerning putting things in proper perspectives. Understand the context of certain things. So the hadith is there, but understanding the context of the hadith and how it is viewed by the ulama regarding things that were maybe abundant then, but maybe now in time later that certain things change. So that's concerning that particular hadith. And also the hadith is shown regarding that the Muslim can avoid najasa. So regarding concerning things concerning water and things of value, not to urinate inside those type of things. As I mentioned, that doing so can cause illnesses and sicknesses. So the person, the Muslim, avoid those things and not be a source of things that may bring about problems for others. And also avoiding thing which is najas. By not to urinate, and also if the person was to urinate, to use that thing. So the person urinates in the water and then to wash from that water, then that's also not to be done. So that's concerning that particular matter. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end there and continue. As the hadith next is somewhat lengthy, that comes after, and few points to be mentioned from that hadith. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll discuss that next week. وبالله تعالى توفيق